Trump just gave a speech after officially signing his bill into law, and I can promise you this. This bill will not age well for Republicans. It already has not aged well. During the signing ceremony, Melania Trump, for example, honestly looked like she was being held hostage. Look at this clip that's going viral of Melania Trump standing there kind of uncomfortably as Donald Trump rants and rambles. Let me turn on the volume.
They dropped the bombs. They said, skedaddle. And that big sucker turned over like this on its side and it got out of there. Well, I'll tell you what, how they do that, but they can do it. I asked our great General Kane, how do they do that? Do they?
She looks like she's being held hostage. And the crazy thing is, I could have paused at any point in this speech and it would have been equally as incoherent from Donald Trump. But I want to go through, not the bill itself, but I want to fact check the speech without even playing many clips of Trump. There are a few key moments that are worth playing, like that one right there. But overall, I just want to have another candid video where we talk one-on-one. I've been doing a lot more of these, and people seem to love them, where we just kind of remove the noise. I talk to you guys, and we break down the news in a more raw way, no script or anything like that. So if you like these videos, drop a like below. And if you're ready for Mockler Media, if you're ready for this to level up, we're starting the podcast next week, then make sure you're subscribed to the Adam Mockler feed. Other than that, make sure you're enjoying your Friday, whether you're celebrating the 4th, whether you don't live in America, make sure you're having a good Friday. Let's start here. Donald Trump, after the bill was signed into law, was given Speaker Mike Johnson's gavel, which is honestly incredibly symbolic, as Congress, including the House, including Mike Johnson, they have ceded every shred of power they have to the executive branch. I'll explain after, but just watch this symbolic moment.
Mr. President, this is the gavel we use to enact the big, beautiful bill, and I want you to have that for your
Are we ready? We're ready. Are we ready? Yeah.
That's the sound of millions of Americans losing healthcare. That's the sound of millions of Americans losing access to supplemental nutrition. And I mean, Mike Johnson thinks this is a powerful moment, and it is. It's quite symbolic, but not for the reason that he thinks. What Speaker Mike Johnson has done is cede power to Donald Trump in the executive branch ever since he took office 6 months ago. Elon Musk was able to subvert the power of the purse, subvert the Constitution, and shutter U.S. aid. Donald Trump was able to strike Iran without Congress. Over and over and over, Congress has ceded any ability to stop or control Trump, even the tariffs, or immigration, or any other number of issues. That brings me to this article. Fact-checking falsehoods about Trump's big, beautiful bill. It is the big ugly bill. I'll no longer call it that. I want to debunk a lot of the lies being told about this bill without even playing these clips of Trump rambling. He says nothing of substance, nothing whatsoever. So let's debunk a lot of these lies. Let's use this platform to make sure we're all on the same page when pushing back. First of all, if a Republican ever tells you, like Trump claims, that in the House, we're not changing Medicaid, only cutting waste, fraud, and abuse, that is straight up false. Republicans tout the bill's provisions to tighten work requirements and make it harder for states to cover immigrants in the U.S. illegally using state funds, but these provisions are ideological. That's not fraud, first of all. Second of all, immigrants illegally using state funds is non-existent. It's like 0.01%, and a lot of the bill's changes go beyond just cutting that. A lot of the work requirements will make it harder for people to get any sort of coverage. So it will cut Medicaid from tens of millions of people. Senator Bernie Sanders says Republicans just unveiled their bill, which will take Medicaid and health insurance away from 13.7 million Americans. Now, PolitiFact labels this as half true, and it says millions of people are projected to lose Medicaid and health insurance, but the senators counted factors beyond what was in the draft of the bill. 10.9 million people will lose health care on the lower ends. On the upper ends, it's about 15 million. So when they say half true, they're just trying to count the lower ends. It is true. Millions will lose health care. White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt said this bill, quote, does not add to the deficit. Incredibly false. On June 4th, the CBO released its conventional cost estimate, which found the legislation would increase the deficit by $2.4 trillion. That's the minimum. The maximum was around $5.4 trillion. House Speaker Mike Johnson is claiming we are not cutting the Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program. False. Entirely false. Here's a question for you all. If this bill really is so beautiful, and if it really does help the American people, like Trump claimed 100 times in that propaganda speech, why do they have to lie about every single page? Why do they have to lie about the length, the permanence, the actual effects of this bill? Elon Musk obviously didn't care about the Medicaid cuts, but he's right about the debt. And they lied about that. They had to lie about every single facet of it because it's a terrible, terrible bill. To continue, American Action Network said, the Republican tax and spending bill will provide a tax cut for Social Security recipients. That is half true. There is an additional $4,000 tax deduction, although it includes an income limit, and it is temporary, as opposed to the permanent tax cuts for the richest of the rich. And that's all this bill is. AOC described it as middle and lower class people getting like the crumbs, the table scraps, and like Trump's trying to make people excited about that, while the rich people are getting the actual loaf of bread. And we see that time and time again throughout the entire bill. I've made multiple videos about the effects, the terrible effects, but just to run through it, it's going to create an ICE immigration state. Right now, ICE has $3.4 billion a year at its disposal to detain people. Think about the amount of overreach we are seeing. Think about what it's going to turn into when they have 4 times as much. They are going to have $10 billion or $40 billion over the next 4 years, which is an insane increase. And that is increasing our debt in the process, hurting our economy because it's overall decreasing immigration. When I say decreasing immigration, immigration means people coming here on visas to go to college, tourism, people just visiting family, people coming here even for the shortest period of time now don't want to come here. Any sort of tourism or visiting or immigration into the US is down, and that hurts the economy long term. There are studies, for example, showing that a state like California would demand $70 billion less in Medicaid funding every year. So Donald Trump goes around and touts that out for each state and says, look how much we're saving. But then the study further shows they will lose $160 billion in overall economic productivity, so it's an overall net loss. You're not getting a return on investment, you are losing. In the same way that USAID, it cost $58 billion a year, and while yes, that sounds like a lot of money straight up, of course it is a lot of money. In the grand scheme of things, when you're distributing that out through a bunch of countries, through a bunch of years, month over month over month, and distributing vaccines and mechanisms for disease prevention, then that in turn helps the United States by creating a more productive Earth. But you know, that would require thinking long-term whatsoever, and Republicans aren't really able to do that. I guess I just want to end this off by saying Donald Trump's awkward-ass speech just got worse and worse. Let me play this clip.
We won the swing states, all 7 swing states. We won every one. That rarely happens. We won the popular vote. We won the districts, 2,750 to 505. That's why when you look at a map, it's all red, a little blue on each end, but it's all red. And by the way, red means Republican.
This guy has a literal infantile understanding of the world around him, and it's insane that he's made it this far. Also, when he says it's rare to win all 7 swing states, it's not actually. All predictions before the elections showed that whoever was going to win the main swing states, it was likely going to be a correlation thing where they win all 7 swing states. That's also why the election wasn't rigged. People always say, oh, it's so peculiar he won all 7 swing states. It's not peculiar. They are directly correlated in the same way. So yeah, the election was not stolen. I can confidently say that. And if you disagree, then name me one prominent Democrat who has come out and said the election was stolen. Kamala Harris? Nope. Biden? Nope. Obama? Nope. What about Larry Krasner, you know, like the DA of Philadelphia? He said if there was any fraud, he would sniff it out. He never came out and said anything. Has Tim Walz said anything? Nope. Has AOC or Bernie? Nobody said anything because there is no proof of widespread systemic fraud. And the reason I push back hard on that is because Trump wants you to think there is. The Republicans, Russia, the enemies, they want you to think everything is rigged, then you just give up. It's not rigged. It's not. We still live in a democracy. Remember that, and we will continue to build this coalition together, and I promise you, once the Democrats are back in office, we will be gliding, we will be passing great legislation. It will happen. I love you all, and peace out.